Angela Pascoe was frustrated. She'd been laid up at Nullarbor City MedCenter for a week now, and the nanobots repairing the frostbite damage from her so-called accident were due to shut down sometime after dawn. That would trigger Health Tech Corp's automated out-processing procedure, and she'd be back on the street by noon. Ordinarily, she'd be overjoyed, but right now, being released was the last thing she wanted. Sometime during the night, she'd begun beating herself up for taking so long to identify the mysterious advisor who seemed to haunt this place. What really frosted her was that if she didn't peg him in the next few hours, she probably wouldn't get another chance, short of being put through some other logic and death-defying crisis. The way Angela figured it, the healer's oath, which prohibited unauthorized psychic probes, didn't apply in this situation. Or, to put it another way, the patient gown was now exposing the other butt. Not that she was really thrilled with the situation. After all, a MedCenter was the last place a psychic would ever want to be. But despite the discomfort, this was also the only place where she'd be able to get the answers she'd been looking for these past few months. She was also scared that she wouldn't find out how it was possible for all those patients, all those people poised to play some key role in whatever they were involved in, could be snatched from that spot before they ever had the chance to act. And she was also frightened that she would, because whoever or whatever was behind it all probably wouldn't be too thrilled to find out that she knew about them. And it all started innocently enough. Ever since she could remember, she'd had an innate sense of rightness when it came to stories. She could sense which incidents were part of the plot and which were there to distract the reader. It had put her off books for the longest time, until she learned how to spot the ones that made the right kinds of shapes in her mind. Then, when she became a healer, it would surface at the oddest moments, and she'd say things to nudge her patients in directions that gave their lives a more satisfying shape. Some people thought that made her a busybody. She thought of it more like editing a work in progress. Angela turned her head and listened briefly as two MedCenter workers paused outside her door to quietly exchange workplace gossip. She'd been awake for some time now, aware of the microscopic technological intruders swarming through her body, aware of how their presence was affecting the smooth flow of ki through her meridians, and of how that was distorting her aura. Compared to the constant psychic noise in this place, these things were fairly easy to tune out. She'd been keeping it all at bay for so long now that it was beginning to seem like some perverse form of self-imposed zen. The thought that it would soon be over, that she'd be free to walk out of this haven for institutionalized intrusion, brought a brief smile to her roundish face, but one that she wiped away before it might be noticed. It was sometime after midnight, judging from the now familiar voices of the night workers talking in the hallway. From what she knew about the MedCenter administration, the night staff were hired to maintain whatever regimens were set up by the more experienced personnel who worked the other two shifts, and were therefore more concerned with following procedure than with wondering why one particular patient preferred to sleep during the day so she could make them think she was asleep at night. Soon, the impromptu hallway discussion trailed off, and two sets of footsteps faded into the gentle background whoosh and whir of the ever-present MedCenter technology. The truth, if they were to guess it, was wholly practical. She found it far easier to sleep through the worst part of the daily psychic maelstrom than to fight it off. But there was another more interesting result of adopting that survival tactic, which was the fact that she'd noticed something peculiar happening late at night, and it had to do with that advisor, the one she was currently straining to identify amid the soundless psychic wail that permeated the MedCenter. Her immediate problem, however, was that she'd run out of ideas. Among healers, those who were natural psychics usually just accepted their gifts as a given and didn't concern themselves with how they did the things they could do. For them, it was enough simply to learn ways to focus their abilities, ways to turn what might otherwise get them ostracized from society into a useful tool that served the community. But there were others, healers not gifted with psychic abilities, but who had nevertheless learned them, much as you might learn the techniques required to perform any other craft. Some of them might have been able to master the more extreme techniques, except for the fact that because they were not innately psychic, they also lacked a certain indefinable essence, an intangible inner resource that was the crucial difference between the two kinds of healer. Angela's psychic talent may have been innate, but her sense of topological rightness helped her to discover novel approaches to otherwise intractable problems. And although that intensely secret ability had revealed the reverse causality behind the pattern of incidents that she had stumbled on, so far it had not shown her a way to get past her bigger personal mystery, how she had gotten trapped in a non-existent ice cave under Franz Joseph Glacier in New Zealand.